Good afternoon, and I want to welcome you to today's episode of the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. I want to welcome you here today, no matter if you're watching us live or watching us on the replay. And today, this should be a very interesting episode for anyone that's in the chimney service industry, because we're going to be talking about something that you may have some questions on. And we also welcome your questions and comments today using our chat bar that's set up here. So Brandy, you've been involved a little bit in this process. What would you say about the subject matter and the gentleman we're going to be interviewing today?
Well, as you know, Jerry, this has been a subject matter that has been near and dear to my heart since I joined the industry in 2013. So I am super excited.
There you go. Cheryl, what about you?
Actually, today we're going to be talking about a process that quite a few people don't understand, or a lot of them have never heard of it. So I think it'll enlighten a lot of people today.
It really will. And since we're all three coach certified, where we have been through, we all hold coaching certifications with various organizations. One of the things that's important to us to make sure that we got certified and accredited by recognized certification programs. That was vastly important. But Brandy, before we go into this, didn't you have something you were going to show at the start of today's episode?
I did. Thank you. So we are rolling out something new today. So just a way to get you, our audience, we just really appreciate you guys. And so just a way to draw some attention to your business. And so each week, you guys see me drinking on here all the time, drinking water, usually hot tea, and because I get really thirsty when I'm talking. So we want to feature your swag from your company, your coffee mugs. And so today we're starting with the NCSG mug, since that's who we're interviewing. So if you would like, I'll put in the chat the address, and you can send us your company's coffee mug, or maybe you have a water bottle or one of these cups. Whatever it is that you send us, and send us just a short paragraph, anything you want us to say about your business, and we will feature you on one of the upcoming shows.
Right. And when Brandy said this, I went up and grabbed this. And this is from Top Hat Chimney Sweeps down in Auburn, Alabama. And this is a place that if Jeremy ever gets rid of Brandy, she says she wants to go work at once she saw the pictures of the Chimney Mahal that the Simmons have built there in Auburn, Alabama. So stick around with us. We'll be right back, and we'll get into today's meat of the subject matter. Stick around with us. Ever gets rid of Brandy. Okay. Now, the first part, now we're going to start. The most difficult part of this whole thing is as I introduce this gentleman. He is a gentleman I met earlier this year, met him face-to-face at the Chimney Expo up in Pennsylvania. When we were at the Chimney Expo, I'd had a lot of phone calls with him before that. So my first challenge is, I hope I get this right, because I asked him before how to properly pronounce his name. So his name is Easton Kuboushek, and if I pronounce that wrong, Easton, feel free to fill in behind.
You've already failed. It's Kuboushek. It's all good. Just call me Easton. It's a lot easier to pronounce.
There you go. So anyway, that's his name. I said, hey, I've been through this myself, because people can't ever spell my name, pronounce my name, or whatever. So anyway, Easton, you rolled in and took over, and your company, and I believe it is Amplify, took over management of the National Chimney Sweep Guild, and you are now the executive director of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. Am I correct in that?
I wouldn't say take over. It sounds a little hostile, but we certainly came in to support and help your industry, help the guild move through its transition to an independent organization, a new staff, and a new, more effective way of operating. So yes, I do work for a management firm, but you can consider me as close to staff and really directly staff and your executive director. So it truly is an honor to be here and be a part of this unique, awesome industry. I come from the agricultural world, if you can't tell from behind me, and farmers and chimney sweeps aren't all that alike. So I feel at home here.
Right. So one benefit of being affiliated with this company, as you are, is you have a lot of resources on staff. And I think back that one of the earliest conversations you and I had involved certification. And our discussion went around the need to accredit the certification. And you said the magic words. Well, if that's what you guys want to do, we have the perfect person on staff that's very experienced in that. And her name was Heather, and she and I had a conversation. It's like, this lady gets it. She understands exactly what we were talking about here. So is that some of the advantages, is you bring resources to the table that a freestanding staff could not bring?
That is one of the advantages, is just the overall ability to flex resources and then take knowledge and experience from other industries and apply it to this industry. So you're correct. Heather's unfortunately moved on to bigger and better things, and you're stuck with me now as far as managing the accreditation process. But we have other associations. We worked with other industries that have worked through very similar certification programs, certification processes, and the accreditation process. So Heather brought a tremendous knowledge. She actually just left me a binder of projects and consultants that are going to help us cross the finish line over the next year and a half. But you're exactly right. That is a benefit to working with a firm like Amplify and having a staff like mine, is we can not only flex our expertise towards certification, but we can flex it in finance, in membership, in marketing, and the other areas that it really takes for an association or a guild or nonprofit really to be successful.
Got you covered. So like I said, we kind of do a round table discussion here. So Brandy, you got a pretty big background also in what accreditation is, and then you come out of the nursing background. So what would be the first item you would lay on the table for Easton to answer or to discuss, please?
Yeah, I guess. I'm so sorry.
Your phone. Brandy, I think that was, there you go. You kicked it out.
I think it was because I was trying to get in twice. I can't see you guys today from where I remember the first way I logged in. So I was trying to log in different ways. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine, and we see you fine. You may not see us, but you're very pretty on there. You're good.
Let me know if I start echoing. So I think the first thing that I would ask is Easton just to explain to everybody what accreditation is and what the benefits are. Because I remember when I came into the industry in 2013, and I was preparing to take the very well-known test in our industry. And I asked Jeremy, and Jerry, I think I probably asked you too when you came to visit, who is this accredited by? Because I come from the world of a teaching hospital and academia, and there you don't dare enter a program or do anything without first making sure that it's accredited, because otherwise you probably are not going to have a job. So that was very interesting to me. And I think my husband just looked at me with like stargazed eyes. And so I started doing my research and found out that there was no accrediting body. And then I'll freely admit that I was just a little bit disappointed then when I took the test, and just no disrespect to the people that wrote that test because it was written a long time ago, but just the way the questions were worded. In fact, there was a way you could kind of cheat the test if it's spoken like Elizabethan language. That was probably the answer. And so that was a little bit disappointing. And so that's why I've always pushed for accreditation and been so excited for it. So Easton, if you could just explain a little bit more to our viewers about that.
I think you laid the foundation fantastically, Brandy. That's the challenge is with this industry, with any industry, is we're experts in our own field, and we're biased towards our own field. So I think one of the most important values of seeking accreditation, there's a number of accrediting bodies, but the importance of it is having an unbiased third-party expert that holds you accountable, so you don't get in that tunnel vision, right? Not only having that unbiased opinion, but also having a system and a set of standards that, as the industry changes, right, none of the work we do, none of the technology we have is static. I mean, there's a lot that hasn't changed, but as we grow and as policy changes, as codes and standards change, there needs to be a system of incorporating those new standards, that new information and knowledge, effectively into the exam, into the accreditation, or into the certification process. So, think about the implications to the homeowner, right? As a homeowner, I want to make sure I am hiring an individual who knows the most current standards, the most current information. And unless that is implemented and there's a system to do that on a regular basis, you're going to fall behind. It's going to be out of date in every legislative session in every state, and you know what I mean? So that's really, it's already a bear to manage, to wrap your arms around, but that's really what it is. We're taking the responsibility now of having someone else hold us accountable and coming from an unbiased perspective.
Perfect. I love it.
Okay. And also, so you'll know, Easton, I administered her certification test, and she actually broke down crying from the stress of taking that test. Okay.
Here I thought you were going to take it personally, because if I remember correctly, you were among those writing the first certification. So not to age you, but it sounds like you could have done your job back in the day, and we wouldn't even be here right now. Is that right, Jerry?
That's exactly right. And that's where you guys are picking up the slack of things, to be honest with you, that should have been done many years ago, of applying for this. And that was one of the reasons I was so experienced, because I'd actually advised other groups on what they were going to have to do. And I think when Heather and I started having conversations, we connected real fast, because she knew that I had the process and I knew that she had the process.
Yep. And
you had the right way to go about this. So Cheryl, let's go to you. What's your first point of view here?
Well, my thing is there's so many organizations out there that are not accredited. And what do you think draws them into getting it done? Most of them are not interested in doing it. I can see no reason they shouldn't be. So what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. When I think about why not, it's really what are the barriers? The largest one is always going to be financial, right? There's a financial barrier, there's a knowledge barrier, and there's probably just an overall capacity, time, talent barrier, right? So we have a leg up, right, at Amplify and having the knowledge to make this as efficient of a process as possible, but it is intentionally rigorous. And if it wasn't rigorous, you wouldn't be accredited. There'd be no value in earning the accreditation and having an accredited certification program. So there's a number of, and really candidly, it's expensive, but it's an important investment in making sure that the knowledge that chimney sweeps are earning, and I say that intentionally, earning moving forward and owned by the guild is a good investment long term. So no, it's a great perspective, Cheryl. I wish that it would almost be mandated, but it's a choice for a reason. I certainly see it as an advantage for NCSG.
Yeah. And Easton, a lot of people aren't aware of what you have to do in order to go through the process, because it's not just a simple matter of saying, hey, come look at our test and get accredited. There's a whole pile of work here. And like step one of this was to actually select a group of what we call subject matter experts, where these subject matter experts meet together. That meeting was held in Chicago. And what these subject matter experts are doing, they're not working with you, and they're not working with anyone from the staff. They're working with what we call a psychometric firm. And the psychometric firm is assembling the data. But in this process, there could be no trainers, or myself, I didn't qualify to sit in that subject matter group, because what they needed was real world input into that. So trainers weren't allowed to be in that group to get the true feeling. So what was your thought process on this subject matter group? Do you think we had a good group to get a good feeling of what a chimney sweep technician does?
Well, I don't know. Is there such a thing as a good chimney sweep? You guys are a bunch of characters from my perspective. But, so relatively speaking, you kind of hit on two questions there. So I'll answer the first one what does this process actually take? And I think you only allotted an hour or so for this, so we certainly don't have enough time to go in depth into each one of those. But I intentionally outline my notes here just so you can get at a high level what those steps are. Step one was exactly as Jerry mentioned. It was a job task analysis. So getting a group of sweeps together that represent the entire country, different regions, different experience levels, different size businesses, to get together and define what it actually means to be a chimney sweep, the day-to-day tasks and knowledge that need to be incorporated into that that any chimney sweep needs to know. But that's only 15 sweeps. So while they're a great, start, a great foundation, the next step is validating what those 15 sweeps came up with in Chicago in August with the broader industry. So this is a shameless plug and ask for support, right? We have 3 surveys circulating right now in your sweeping magazine, on the NCSG Facebook page, hopefully on every chimney forum and discussion list there is. I can't keep track of all of them, but if you can, right, we need you to go and take that survey and make sure that the knowledge and the domains, we call them high-level domains, that were surfaced in Chicago are actually representative of the broader industry. So that's how, again, a way to make this unbiased, a way to make this accurate. We're involving as many chimney sweeps, true chimney sweeps, as possible, and validating the knowledge that's going to be on this certification. The next step, you may have also heard, right? So we have had 15 subject matter experts in August. We need another 25 to come to Vegas, right? Darn Vegas, right? Could be a much worse place. We've added it to pre-convention. So the Monday and Tuesday, we're going to ask folks to fly in by noon Monday, participate in writing exam questions. So we call it item writing, but at the end of the day, it's creating and writing the actual questions that are going to be on the exam moving forward. Every exam has 2 versions. Every question has to be reviewed by 3 chimney sweeps. So again, I'm talking about a rigorous process. Brandy mentioned it as well. The psychometricians are gathering the knowledge. We're creating the questions, but those questions can't be biased, right? They have to be true tests of knowledge, and there can't be a cheat. So it's a rigorous process in itself. But my call to action to you is, if you're interested in helping and contributing to those questions, we're going to need about 1,000, right, for every version of that, every version of the certifications in all 3 of those programs. So please do contribute, right? You're experts, or I assume some experts are seeing this. We'd love to have you in Vegas. After that is, let's see, we have standard setting. So not only writing the questions, but weighting the questions. Different pieces of knowledge have different importance. And the overall, there can't be a flat line of pass fail, right? So just saying 70% right doesn't mean that you have actually earned the knowledge or have all the knowledge. You could have memorized the quick study and passed that test, no problem. The reality is the score of that is important, and it's not arbitrary. It's not a flat line. So it may or may not change over time. And it certainly won't be just a line in the sand, right? So that's what we're doing. That'll happen around June, July, after we get all those questions written. And then we actually get to finalize the test and test the test, right? So the next phase, what are we on now? Phase 4, phase 25. There's too many phases in all of this. But the next step in that'll happen this summer is beta testing. So that's where we'll actually get to toss it out to the chimney sweeps, take the exam, give us feedback on where you saw a bias, where you saw opportunities for improvement, where things were confusing. We really want that to be an effective and fair exam. And then finally in this process, actually I should say throughout all of this, there's a policies and procedures. I won't get too far into that, but everything is documented, and it has to follow a very specific process in order to be accredited, in order to even apply to be accredited. So we have work happening full time on all of those. And hopefully our goal ultimately, and this is the first time this is being said publicly, is to have the accredited program available by convention of 2023. So if we do all of that and everyone pitches in like we were hoping you will, we will have an industry leading program, a program that homeowners can take extreme confidence in by convention of next year.
Okay. So, and also to add to this before, this is open to any industry member. They do not have to be a member of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. And this is also taking into account the subject matter group that met in Chicago. It was both male and it was female. It was experienced. It was less years of experience. It was from people from across the country. So this was a very widespread thing to take into account all the differences in different geographic areas. So let's make sure that everybody's aware. So Easton, would they just contact the guild at office at ncsg.org if they were interested?
So, well, first of all, Jerry, you don't have to be a member, but I think we should all be supporting our guild. I'm going to shamelessly plug that. What better reason than this program to get involved and become a member? Second of all, there are a number of ways, for this purpose of this. I don't know if we can add the survey link. I'll try to find that before.
If you can put it into the comment bar, then we can put it up. It'll go out on the broadcast.
I should have prepped more. So I'll try to find that, but I'll try to give you my undivided attention for now.
Okay.
But it's in the newsletters that members receive. I know it's on the NCSG Facebook page. It should be circulating around the discussion list as well. But at the end of the day, if you're interested and need us to point you in the right direction, contact the office at NCSG. We will respond within 24 hours and get you the information you need.
Gotcha. Okay, so Brandy, your turn.
Thank you. Yeah. And so I have a really good friend who's a psychometrician. And so shout out to them. That requires a doctorate degree. And I just think that they are amazing people and way, way, way more knowledgeable than I will ever be. Also, just a shout out to the NCSG board, just the incredible work. I've had the privilege of seeing a little bit of the behind the scenes work that they have to do. And it's intense, and they're volunteers. So I think that should be acknowledged as well. So Easton, I'm always trying to be like 2 or 3 steps ahead. So I'm already thinking about, okay, once the accreditation goes through and we take the test, like how are we going to market that to our customers? Like, what am I going to tell my marketing company to put on? How are we going to answer the question when the customer asks, well, how come we're better than XYZ company? And so I like this article that I found, and it says, in general terms, accreditation is a process of being certified as a credible and authentic entity. Being accredited means an organization has proven itself as a legitimate establishment in their field. It is not a quick process nor an easy process. Strict standards must be met. Accreditation helps employers identify legitimate programs that meet acceptable quality standards. Does that pretty much to you, does that say?
You want to send that article? Yeah. You want to send that article to me? We can use that.
I will.
I mean, it's spot on. It's going to be the opportunity for chimney sweep business owners and individual chimney sweeps to, first of all, skill up, right? Actually learn in a more efficient and credible way. So you have confidence in your own education, not just in your experience or in your employees if you're a member or business owner. But you're exactly right. This is the opportunity for you to take it to the next level and demonstrate to your customer base, to your homeowners, that you have knowledge that's superior to any in the industry. So we don't have the specific plans laid out. We have some time to do that yet, but you can bet that the Guild is going to be empowering, and that's really where I see our role is empowering the individual sweep to make the most of their certification. So that should be on the website. It should be on your truck. It should be associated directly. Like if I say I'm a member and I say I'm a certified chimney professional or journeyman, then it's going to be synonymous with quality, and it's going to be really important to have.
Gotcha. So Cheryl, what about you?
Okay, we've talked a lot about it making the company customer relationship much better. How does the accreditation help in the legal or in the insurance status of the company? Does it give any heads up on that?
Absolutely. There's a number of advantages and opportunities when accredited. We intentionally, so it's a fantastic perspective and question, Cheryl. So thank you for the opportunity, right? We had a lot of pushback or questions about the name journeyman, for example. And, there's a lot of pride, or truly is a lot of pride in being a chimney sweep. And we're not trying to discredit that whatsoever. But the reality is the standards and codes bodies, the legislative bodies are all very familiar with terms like journeyman. And they're very familiar with accredited programs. In many cases, you can't even lobby with or position a program like that as a requirement unless it is accredited, because how could the government hold you accountable themselves? I don't know. There's a lot to go into that, but it certainly does present an advantage when seeking insurance, seeking policy that's in favor of chimney sweeps, and setting standards within the industry as far as what's required of a chimney sweep to operate a business. But there's only good things that can come from being accredited. There's only risk if we're not accredited.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I see this, and this is where I see, like I said, some of the big benefits are wherever is networking with related industries, such as HVAC, such as plumbers, such as home inspectors, roofing, you name it, but where it can raise the status of the way they view a chimney sweep, okay? Because if we look at it, sometimes they don't view us for what we know, because being a qualified chimney sweep technician, because that's the term I like to use, is technician, because that's what they are. They've got to be a scientist, they've got to be an engineer, they got to be a designer, they got to be able to diagnose issues, they got to be able to use software, they got to know computers. It's actually a pretty involved trade, and it deserves this type of recognition that I think this accreditation will bring it. Now, you have a background in public relations, okay? That was what you did, what you went to school for. So how do you see that this accreditation is going to allow people to take their businesses to be better accepted in their communities?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I love the parallel to, the master of all trades, the jack of all trades. Again, coming from agriculture, farmers are international businessmen as much as they are working and operating tractors. They're diesel mechanics. So the parallels to me are a little bit funny today, but and wonderful, right? It's something to be proud of. But to your question, one of the challenges that the chimney sweep industry, among many challenges, is you're a small industry. You're in somewhat regional industry. While there's business to go around across the country, it's a small industry, and it's not. If I'm being really candid, I would have never have guessed there was a guild for chimney sweeps prior to January of 2021, right? So, but I recognize its importance, and I love the importance of even the small industries, and I think that's one of the things that accreditation does is make you a bigger industry, right? It gives you more credibility, more to boast about in your small but mighty niche, and it offers them an opportunity to complement, right? I, as a home inspector, I no longer have to be a chimney sweep expert or chimney expert. All I have to do is know my preferred chimney resource, and I know that guy's accredited, so I can send that business his way. Same with the other HVAC, plumbing, any of the other industries. This gives us a launching point as the strongest foundation possible for how the chimney sweeping industry, how the fireplace industry evolves moving forward. We can't deny, right, that our industry is changing, that the demands of the homeowner is changing, that the world is pushing toward a greener, carbon neutral future. This, as our industry evolves, has an accredited, flexible, adaptable program that's going to be able to respond and still lend credibility to our small and evolving industry.
Yep. And right now on the screen, you can see that we have a comment from a gentleman in Charlotte, North Carolina, James Owens. And so folks are aware, James was actually a member of that first subject matter group. And he's also, Easton, so you'll know these directions that the Guild's going into has encouraged James. He's entered his hat into the ring to become a member of the board of directors.
Hey, there we go.
Because, and here's what's happening. People are seeing the NCSG being the most progressive they have seen it in a number of years. And I'm going to credit you. I'm going to credit this board. I'm going to credit Tom. You guys have really poured it on in the last year up there, because if you look at it, that's what's encouraging people like James to really step up to the plate, because there were several people in that group that I know were very excited when they came back from that meeting. So, Randy, your turn.
Yeah, so I was thinking as Easton was talking, because I too come from farm kin, and you used that word evolved, and I was thinking about back in my grandparents' day when I was younger, and you would take the John Deere out in the field, you drove it, you had to do all the math calculations for the seed and stuff. Now if you hop in that tractor, basically you just sit back, program some things into your computer, and it does a lot of the work for you, and it tells you the soil, and it does so much for you. So that industry has really evolved, and so I'm so excited that we are evolving. And I like that word you used, Jerry, progressive as well. And I like that we're going to have that accountability moving forward to continue to progress. So Easton, if somebody's watching this right now and they're like, hey, you know, I really want to do that. I really want to be a part of the test, say that I was a part of this process. I'm not sure if I have the money to go to Chicago, which has already happened, or Vegas. Is the NCSG helping cover any of those expenses?
We are, of course. So great question. We never want that to be a barrier. I would say, you know, at the highest level, keep in mind we're using guild funds, right? The NCSG is a nonprofit. You've all contributed as members. And so in any request for support traveling or participating, we don't want that to be a barrier, but we also always, of course, ask that you be responsible with guild funds. But we are guaranteeing and making sure we cover meals and your hotel for being there early, right? Some will have to come in Sunday evening. Most, I hope, can get in. We have a luxury going west, right? We're catching a couple hours on our flights. So you'll be able to come in Monday morning and get there by noon and be able to participate that day. But it's a good question. I'm just gonna address this up front, right? If you're already going to convention, that's why we tack this on, right? So we can save as much guild funds or maximize guild funds as much as possible. So be cautious in requesting if you're accepted. Be cautious in requesting funds for your airfare there. You're going to Vegas anyway in most cases. So love to see everyone there. Love to have you as a subject matter expert. And I'll note too, actually, sorry, before I forget this, Brandy, that if you can't come for the early session, maybe you can't afford the extra 2 days out of the office in the spring. Hopefully things have slowed down by then. But if you can't afford those extra 2 days, there will be a booth. The NCSG booth will be collecting questions as well and having an opportunity to review. Our psychometricians are going to join us in the booth, and you can stop by, write a question or two, review a question or two as you're perusing the exhibit hall, and still contribute to this wonderful process. So again, that door is always open. And then last little pull there. If this isn't the opportunity, you can be a beta tester, right? You can help weight the questions so we get a responsible threshold for pass fail. There's a number of other ways. So just because you can't, maybe attend this session, please don't be afraid to be bashful in applying. We'd certainly welcome your expertise down the road.
Sounds great. So Brandy, that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Okay, good job. So Easton, we set a term in here, and I want to make sure that people understand what this person is, because this is an incremental person in this. Because a lot of people, what you're going to be doing is you have to maintain this accreditation. It's not a matter of you get accredited and you're good forever, right? But you're going to have to maintain this. And the person that's going to do this is called a psychometrician. And so people are aware of what's going to happen when you have the accreditation process. The psychometrician is going to be examining the test results. Because if everybody passes the test, it's not a valid test. If everybody fails the test, it's not a valid test. But it also comes in, they examine the questions. They examine for the way it's worded. Is it properly worded? I mean, is the wording, like I'm from the South. I say the word hose pipe when I'm talking about a garden hose. A lot of people don't know when I say hose pipe, they don't know what I'm talking about. So can you explain what a psychometrician is? Because this is going to be vastly important, because this is going to be the person that's actually going to oversee this from outside the NCSG.
Yeah, so I don't have the Webster definition of a psychometrician, but I can speak to the principles, right? You're exactly right, and it's again why this is so valuable, in that it's not a one and done thing. Even when we launched the accredited program, we God willing, earn the accreditation that we're seeking, right? It's not a one and done process. There are check boxes to check on an annual basis, including, as you led this with, Jerry, the review of the exam, the review of the questions by a psychometrician, but it also involves an entire governing body. So the education committee, or the body within NCSG, will maintain responsibility or retain responsibility for maintaining the exam as it evolves and changes. And and it'll be adjusted and improved. I guess there's no better word for that. Improved to best reflect the knowledge that's needed over time. So it's a living thing. It's not a static exam. And that's important just to make sure we're recent, relevant, and maintaining the highest standard for the certification.
Correct. And that's going to involve, and when you pay certification fees, that's a lot of where that fee is going to go. This is professional groups. We are talking high-end people to do this. This is not low-cost labor. Am I correct?
None of this is cheap. I'll put it that way.
There you go.
And it shouldn't be cheap. It shouldn't be cheap, easy or fast, right? It is taking almost 2 years start to finish because it takes that much work, time, knowledge, expertise, and hard labor by our board, Brandy, the committee, and others.
Yeah. And let's recognize somebody through this, Easton, that's been very involved. And I want to send a big shout out to Joe Sauter, because Joe is kind of the committee chair. He's going to these meetings. And I can remember when Joe first took this on, and he called me one day. He said, Jerry, I don't know how to carry this forward. And I said, Joe, take it easy. That's what this staff is going to do. I said, Heather's your right hand. I promise you, these people are going to take you through. We just got to have somebody on the control side to represent the board of directors, and you're it. So I just want to shout out to Joe. He's put a lot of time, a lot of effort. He's done a fantastic job. So let's just make sure he gets the recognition he needs out of this, okay?
Absolutely. Not only Joe, but Brandy's on the committee. There's Steve Scally's on there. I would say in addition to Joe, Joe's supported by, 5 or 6. Jerry, you're on that committee as well. So you can't get off the hook here. We certainly appreciate your input and your expertise. But there's a committee driving that. The board of directors has been immensely supportive. The directors that preceded the current leadership, including Jasper and a number of others, this would not have happened without them, and we wouldn't be where we are today without the hard work of all these volunteers. So I'm going to take this opportunity to shamelessly plug the guild again, Jerry, but that volunteer role, right, is leading to a better industry. Brandy's work, Jerry's work, Joe's work, they're taking time out of their day, recognizing that the broader industry has relevance and importance. And so if you, again, have any interest in supporting the guild, becoming more involved, I would argue there's no better time than now, right? There's more going on. We're a growing and evolving organization, and you have the opportunity to contribute to that long-term success. So please do, again, if you want to get involved, email me directly or the office directly, and we'll find a way for you to contribute.
That's it. So, Brandy, your turn. Bound to you.
Yeah, I was just thinking as Easton was talking, a lot of companies are second, third generation. I mean, what an opportunity to tell your grandchildren or great-grandchildren from now, hey, when that test was first becoming and getting accredited, I helped create that. I mean, just what a great legacy. Mm-hmm. So, Easton, if I'm sitting here watching this and I'm thinking, okay, great, well, we're talking about this test, but how do I study for that? What does that look like? Are you able to speak to that?
I am. I'll tell you, it's going to look a lot different than it does today, right? We're the Certified Chimney Professional is Marshall built a wonderful program, a much needed program, specifically for that entry level. But that body of knowledge is gonna be basically completely overhauled. I mean, completely. We're also creating a new body of knowledge for a new certification in the Certified Chimney Journeyman. So there's going to be a study guide, much like there exists today, but it'll be more robust and more comprehensive. There will be a number of training and education opportunities throughout the year. We're really investing in not only how Marshall travels and trains on the certification, but also in the hands-on training side. That'll help with continuing education, with preparation for this exam. But I'd say the biggest shift in this is going to be, you're not going to be able to go and memorize a study guide and take a test to pass. The test is going to be different than the study guide. It's going to be more about applying that knowledge. And so, I mean, truly, in order to earn this, it's going to take experience. It's going to take studying and knowledge beyond what's in that, that daily, just the document. It's going to take the application. It's going to take a real experience to become certified, which is, again, it's important because it validates what your certification means and what it means for all the others that hold it. So yeah, that's how the preparation will come. There will also be online opportunities. I'm certain, Jerry, that you're not going to get away with or avoid having training and education opportunities. I think you're probably excited for this as well. But the Guild is going to have online education resources available as these knowledge bodies are built, as the study manual is built. They'll be available to study when we get there, but we have a few steps before then.
That's
I
it.
feel like you were there, Easton, when I was taking the test 8 years ago and just memorizing the material. I feel like you're seeing into that now.
That's just it. And not only that, but if you've taken a lot of exams, I can eliminate 2 answers before I even read the question. And if you can do that, you don't, it's going to be important.
That's it. So Cheryl, your next question.
Well, you took one, Brady took the next one. So that's what I get for getting skipped. But no, the main thing is, yes, you said it was a living entity. So that was where my question was headed, was how often would this entity be revisited? Is it like a yearly thing? Or is it revisited as number of tests are taken, like 500, I'm picking a number. Where do they revisit the particular questions, or do you have that information?
I don't have that information in front of me, but I do know it's reviewed on an annual basis and updated on an annual basis. That's what the system and the body is for, right? So in addition to having a governing body, someone paying attention to this, there's standards that we have to meet and assessments, audits that we have to conduct on an annual basis to be able to demonstrate and maintain that accreditation moving forward. Because again, it's not a one and done thing. This is something that's earned over time and maintained over time. So it's a good question. I don't have those numbers in front of me, Cheryl, but it certainly will be reviewed on an annual basis.
So does the testing manual, the one, that you do study, does it get updated as, I know it has to as the questions does, but I'm assuming everything's online at this point when you're accredited?
Yeah, it'll be online because online means you can print it off. But yes, it'll be updated, and that's part of, again, why this needs to evolve over time. So as new technology or as new standards are changed, right? 211 is going to change. It has to reflect in that exam. So yes, those will all be dynamic, and actually that's part of why it's so important to have it living online, so it can be updated relatively quickly, and then you have a single source of truth, not the printed manual that's out of date next month.
Gotcha. So moving on, I'm gonna change slants just a little bit. A year ago, Christmas of last year, did you have any idea you were going to be involved with chimney sweeps in just a few months?
About as much of an idea as you did.
Okay. So anyway.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, it was. So anyway, now we're in here. You have a new career. You're now helping this industry as the executive director, the manager of the association at this point. So in your mind, what do you see as the outlook and the future of this industry? And I ask this from a couple viewpoints. Number one, I've been in this business a long time. Number two, I got a son in this business. I got grandsons in this business. And what do you foresee as the future for the chimney service industry and the chimney and venting industry in America? What does Easton see?
Yeah. Now you're really putting me on the spot.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. I would say, one of the things that I've come to appreciate the most is really the legacy and the passion of a chimney sweep. So I don't know that the first thing I would say, and this isn't blowing smoke or anything, we can't move forward without honoring our past. This is acknowledging that this industry was more or less created in the United States, and it's evolved and it's had a lot of success, and it really is a rich, it's a rich tradition. It's a rich trade. And so I don't think we're talking about, as we look to the future, the reason I say that is as we look to the future, we're not making this drastic shift from the past. We're honoring the past, and we're flexing and building on our legacy. So that's the first way I would approach responding to that. The second is, I think that it's going to be imperative to take and look for opportunities to become indispensable. We can't ignore the changes that are happening to the American consumer, that are happening globally. I know there's a large fear of electrification challenging the industry. I know that there's a general global trend toward green, right? And when we think green, we don't necessarily think of burning things. We're actually trying to avoid that. So it's going to be incredibly important for us to honor our past, but be very open to and very, very intentional about how we insert ourselves in the future of the American homeowner. So that's a broad way that I look at it. I think there's some real challenges ahead. I really do. And I think that's why it's so important for, demonstrating our professionalism, demonstrating our skill through this accreditation process. I think it's also imperative to take knowledge and experience that we've seen abroad and applying that and finding those opportunities, creating those opportunities domestically. And then just having alignment, and to be really candid, I think we need to come together in a way as an industry, in a way that we haven't before. We've been divisive for a year. It's why I'm here today. And I am the first to say I'm coming with open arms and encouraging everyone to come back together, because it's going to be more important to be aligned than to be divisive if we're going to be successful in the future. So on that, this is the first convention I'm told that we have NFI, CSIA, NCSG. There's probably 10 other certification opportunities there I don't know about yet. Brittany Burton's doing a fantastic job planning this event. I'm so excited for her and to work with her. But that is a real opportunity for our industry to come together and start to figure out what we're going to do in the future.
And Easton, that's one of the things, because actually what you're going through is what we all go through in business, which is continuing reinvention. And that's what I hear you saying, and reinvention of the model. And that's where you guys are doing so excellent when you're seeing out there, because you are reinventing the model. And from one of the older guys that's been around for many years, I applaud you, and I applaud this board for what I'm seeing as a very, very progressive steps into the future. So, Brandy, last time, it's all your next one.
Okay, so first of all, I'm glad you brought up Marshall, because I just think he has such a servant's heart for not only the industry, but for getting education out to as many people as possible. And also shout out to Brittany, because she had a big job in the beginning and still does. And so shout out to her. But for people that are watching, I think a lot of people don't fully understand from where the NCSG came from to having a staff that was hired and approved by the board to where now it's under an organization, which I think also cuts out a lot of the bias. Can you explain some of the benefits of us being now with your organization that also helps manage many other organizations?
I can, yes. It is. I would say that's probably why we were able to navigate, or Brittany and I were able to support NCSG through this transition, because truly I'm coming in without a dog in the fight. My goal is to deliver the strategic plan and the mission of NCSG. So we stepped in, we helped develop the strategic plan, which obviously involved education and this accreditation process. And then from there, it's been nothing but what's the next step toward a successful future, a successful foundation. So I would, to answer your question directly, that it is one of the advantages. The disadvantage is I'm not a chimney sweep, and I'll acknowledge that wholeheartedly, but I am resourceful and I know who to ask when I have a question, right? I know how to pick up the phone and call Brandy. I know how to consult Jerry and then take Jerry's word with a large grain of salt. And then you have a wonderful board of volunteers. So we are experts in running nonprofits. We are experts in growing membership. We are experts in providing value to an industry from a mission-driven perspective. So my colleagues and I'm supported by a team that I can go in, and when I'm struggling with, how do I get this new membership program off the ground? How do I rebuild the website in 3 days before a virtual convention, right? That's where that advantage comes in, is I can flex my team and my resources. I can build on the knowledge of the association world, the nonprofit world, and combine it with your industry and the nuance there. And ultimately, we're all moving forward together. So that's the long answer. And really it is. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to a long-term partnership together and helping Chimney Sweeps be all that they can and helping NCSU grow.
Thank you.
Cheryl, what's your last one?
Mine's more of a statement. Easton, I want to thank you for the good work that you're doing. Number one, we've thanked everyone else, but I think you're in a position there. I think the not being a chimney sweep and being able to see everything from the top view is much better than someone that sees it from their own view of the industry they're in. So I want to applaud you and your staff and all the guys that are working on this for what they're doing, because I know it's no easy job.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I appreciate it, but this is a team. Brittany, you've already complimented her. Brittany is a wonderful, wonderful person and a terribly talented event planner. So I think she's been one of the most welcomed additions. Casey, if you haven't had a chance to meet Casey, she's the one that's producing Sweeping Magazine. We have some admin support. Her name's Jill. If you ever get a chance, Jill's a total sweetheart, and she works harder than any of us, I think. But if you're getting anything in the mail or getting your certification badge, Jill's certainly had a hand in that. And then we've already talked about Marshall. So while Marshall's still independent, he's a servant. He serves us. He serves the industry, and he cares. So he helps. I'm a doer, and Marshall's a server, and together as a chimney sweep team, we're getting a lot done with a small but mighty force.
Right. And as a contributor with several things a month for the Guild, writing, I know that Casey, she's knocking it out of the park. She's on top of this, probably as good as anyone I've ever seen that's done the editing for Sweeping, because she's timely. She sends out the reminders. She's doing everything she's supposed to on that, and the webinars that I do for NCSG and all that. But Easton, I got to bug you about one thing.
Bring it on.
There you go. We got to replace some of them tractors in your windowsill with some chimneys.
I'll see if I can get that. Why don't you come build a chimney in my back? I knew someone was going to hit me on that. I was going to pick on Brandy about green tractors, because obviously all of those ones are red. But
yeah, I mean, those must be farm hauls. I don't see no John Deeres on that shelf.
I got a couple. Over here. I can't. My godson is a huge John Deere guy, so he gave me a bunch to pick on me.
I hear you.
But so, yeah, no, I would, except it would be electric. I can't just, throw up some mortar and light a fire in my office. And I thought that'd be more offensive than having an actual fireplace.
Right. But right before we started this interview, we had a few minutes, we talked, and I brought up a subject matter, and I'm going to kind of use an analogy to chimney sweeps, okay? And that is an organization called the FFA, because you grew up in an agricultural family, and that stands for the Future Farmers of America. And when you think of the FFA, what do you think of? You think of farmers. But actually, the FFA is one heck of a leadership building organization, and it also teaches these young people how to speak in public. I've actually listened to some of their work of their speeches at this annual FFA convention. And Scott McCain, a nationally known speaker, he comes from there. But the analogy here is, this is kind of the way the consumer looks at a chimney sweep. They really don't know the skill level that somebody has to possess in order to diagnose, in order to design, in order to maintain, and do all the things that they do. Has it been kind of amazing to you to learn the role of the chimney sweep as you come into this industry, Easton?
Oh, absolutely. No, I would say we're all a little crazy, right? Chimney sweeps have their crazy, farmers have their crazy. Jerry, you're definitely the leader of the crazy pack. I admire, and I think that's part of what I enjoy so much about learning these new industries. And I started off with that. There's not all that much different between a farmer and a chimney sweep. You're cut from the same Carhartt cloth, and you're out there, getting dirty and doing great things. But at the end of the day, your knowledge is far beyond just what the typical person would think is a farmer, right? Or a chimney sweep. You have business skills, you have personal skills, you have wonderful, hardworking talent. I'm sitting here behind a computer. I'm not out there anymore. I really wish I was most days. So I have a lot of admiration, and it's been a true joy to learn about what it takes to be a chimney sweep. And it's part of, why I enjoy what I get to do, because it resonates so closely with my foundation. But
right.
So,
in closing, if you're listening to us today, if you're not a member of the National Chimney Sweep Guild and you're in the industry, let us encourage you. You need to join this group. This group is the people that represent you to industry, to governments, government relations, and all the other things. As John Kennedy once said, every man owes something back to the industry that provides a living for him. And I firmly believe that. Way back in the mid-'80s, Easton, I decided I want to get involved. I served as president for 6 years. It was a very pleasing time I can look back on, and to watch what's accomplished in those years since, it's been really amazing from there. So, Brandy, you want to give one final plug for your swag collection today before we go away?
Just remember, send us your mug so that we can feature your company and just give us a little bit about your company. And then I just had a final thought too, Jerry. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in God moments. And I really believe that Tom became the president at just that perfect time. And we're just so fortunate that he found Easton and his organization. And I'm just such a proud NCSG member. And I would say if you're out there watching, just today, get out there and either, if you're not a member and you're watching, join. And please, please, please volunteer to help with this accreditation process, because I think that you'll just be so happy that you did.
That's well. And the convention is in Las Vegas.
End of March, beginning of April. I think it's the 30th through the 2nd, if I remember those dates correctly.
And we've got a really nice hotel. I've never been to that hotel, but I'm understanding it's really nice. It should be really good for everybody. So it gives you a couple things. If you can participate in this certification project that's ongoing, I put Easton's email address in there. You can send it to him. I've also got office at NCSG Oregon there, where Brittany will get that, but they'll be glad to get you involved. NCSG is looking for volunteers. They're looking for committee members. They're looking for future leaders of the industry. They really are. And this could be a great time for you to devote something back to an industry that provides you and your family a living. And with that, we really want to thank you for joining us today on the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. It's our honor, it's our privilege, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak to you each and every week. Our show is sponsored by our company, CVC Success Group. And our whole mission is to help you take your business dreams and turn them into your business realities. So tune us again next week, and we hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. And with that, Easton, hope to you to see the same, and we will see you next time, folks. Appreciate you.